All right, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Here we go with pick number 11 of my favorite 30 albums of the 60s countdown. Of course, we're doing each and every day here this month. In September 2023, I always want to say our because I'm not the only one picking. You guys are picking too. Our 30 favorite albums released in the 1960s across all genres: rock, pop, folk, jazz, acid rock, psychedelic rock, proto prog, proto metal, whatever it might be. We're picking on our favorites, right? Our favorite 30. And I'm only doing one pick, one album for any band or artist, but you guys are feel free to do more than one if you like. Three for any artist. It's hard, right? Because there's some really notable artists from the 60s who had a string of great albums, right? So it's very difficult for me just trying to pick one from those very notable bands. We're getting to a lot of them. We've covered some of them already, but today is no exception. This particular American band released their debut album January 4th, 1967, recorded at Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, California by Paul Rothchild for Elektra Records. I'm talking about the self-titled release from The Doors. I've been a Doors fan for a long time, and I have always had a hard time really choosing a favorite from this catalog. I generally lean to the debut just because, as we're going to talk about in just a couple of minutes, it's just top to bottom. It's so strong, but you can make an argument, and I can make an argument any day for Waiting for the Sun, for, the second album, Strange Days, love Strange Days, the Soft Parade, right? They're all just so good, of course. And I picked, you have the two released at the beginning of the decade, right? Which, again, it's hard to choose from those two as well when you're picking, like, favorite Doors album from the 70s. And then there are no more, right? So that's all we got. But all of their albums from the Jim Morrison era are just drop dead classics for me. There's just no other way around it. So many great songs littered throughout this catalog. Hit singles, deep album cuts, right? But I always go back to this debut. I think I always lean on this debut. And again, probably because there's just some songs on here that really have meant a lot to me. And I think it's possibly the strongest one, start to finish. I don't know. At least that's what I always say, but that opinion could change anytime, right? Then I start listening to it, like Strange Days is another one. I love that album. Love it so much. Anyway, of course, we've got the classic lineup of the Doors here. Jim Morrison on vocals, Ray Manzarek on organ, backing vocals, piano, a little bit of bass, right? He plays the bass notes on the keyboard. I think he actually played some actual bass on this album. Robbie Krieger, guitars, also some bass guitar on this album. John Densmore, drums, backing vocals. And there's also, you got a guy named Larry Knetchell, who played a little bit of bass on this album also. I think that with this album, I'm not sure if they did it on Strange Days, but I think at some point they just decided, all right, we're not gonna actually have bass anymore. We're just going to have Ray play the bass notes on his organ, right? Although I think they then changed that again for one of the latter albums. I'm not sure, but it just strangely enough just never felt the need to add a bass player, right? Full-time bass player, because Ray just did what he needed to do, and it worked, right? So, what do we got on this album? Well, so many classics. I mean, does it get any better of an opener than Break On Through to the Other Side? I mean, it grooves, it bumps, it grinds. Break On Through is in Jim's angry vocals. Jim Morrison is like such an enigma when you really think about it. If you really look and analyze his vocal style, not a classic singer, right? It's not like he had a great voice, but he had the voice. There was something about Jim Morrison. He could be tender. When he was angry, it was great as well. He could do all these different moods. He can do this more kind of talking, like he's reciting poetry type of thing. And he had a really unique voice. There was nobody like him. There was an element of danger to it. There was an element of pain and angst to it. You could find lots of other singers from this time period that were technically way better singers, right? But this guy had the it factor, right? And it just made him such a kind of there's this mystique about Jim Morrison and added something to this band that just, made them so great. Soul Kitchen follows. Great song, great vocal on that one. Catchy song. The Crystal Ship. That's a lovely song. So indicative of this era, right? This the beginning of the psychedelic era. The Crystal Ship is just majestic, and Ray's keyboards are just enchanting on it. I absolutely love the Crystal Ship. So good. 20th Century Fox, good kind of bluesy rocker, right? Also really catchy. Then, of course, Alabama Song, Whiskey Bar. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Don't ask it, right? Enchanting song. And then, of course, Light My Fire. One of the great singles of the 60s. Love Light My Fire. One of those songs I've heard a million times. I could hear it another million times. Love the, Tala loves it too. Love the guitar solo in it. Hate when they cut that out, right? You listen to hear it on the radio and they cut it out. I'm like, come on, you can't do that. They did the same thing on Riders on the Storm. It's like, you can't do that. You can't cut Robbie's guitar solo out of these. That's just side one. Over on side two, Backdoor Man, another cool bluesy rocker. Then, of course, the Willie Dixon song, I Looked at You, another enchanting song, great chorus. End of the night. I love these kind of like early gothic type things that the Doors did. End of the night is just so cool as well. Take It As It Comes, upbeat, again catchy, and then of course it finishes off just like almost every single Doors album finishes off with a lengthy epic. This one is just under 12 minutes long. This is the end. My Only Friend, the end. Chilling song. Love the crazy, violent, near climax, right? Before it kind of ends on a chaotic note. And yeah, just love it. I love all the Doors closing album epics, and I think each one of them has loads of great things about them. The end is just wonderful. Excuse me. If it isn't my favorite Doors song, it's up like a top 3. Just absolutely love it. Love this album. Like I said, in reiterating the entire track list to you right now, I'm thinking, to me, there's not a bad song on this album, and every one of these songs is near or classic to me. And that's why I generally rank this as my number 1 Doors album. Let's see. Charting stuff. Canada, number 15. U.S. Billboard 200, number 2. This made the Portuguese charts at number 4 in 2021 with one of the various reissues. Certifications, Argentina. Well, we don't hear Argentina too much on these, right? Platinum at 60,000 units sold. Austria, platinum, 50,000 units sold. Canada, 4 times platinum, 400,000 units sold. France, 3 times platinum, 900,000 units sold. Germany, platinum, 500,000 units sold. Italy, platinum, 50,000 units sold. Spain, gold, 50,000 units sold. Sweden, gold, 50,000 units sold. Switzerland, platinum, 50,000 units sold. United Kingdom, 3 times platinum, triple platinum, 900,000 units sold. And in the United States, 4 times platinum, 4 million units sold. That's pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. We got singles here, of course. Break On Through to the Other Side with End of the Night on the B-side. Made it to number 126 on the Billboard charts. However, Light My Fire with The Crystal Ship on the B-side made it to number 1 here in the States, Billboard charts. Right? So, yeah, great album. Great album. It's my number 11. As great as it is, I have 10 that are somehow just above it, right? So stay tuned for the top 10 coming up, starting at you tomorrow. Let us know what you think of the Doors' self-titled debut in the comments below, as well as your pick for today. Pick number 11 as we march our way to number 1 before we move. We go back into the 70s for 1 month only. And somehow I'm going to rank my 31 favorite albums of the 70s across every genre. Hard rock, pop, prog, metal, jazz, all of it. Somehow I'm going to do this. I don't know, because I haven't actually sat down to start it yet. I might do that somehow this weekend. I have a really busy weekend coming up, but somehow I need to just start taking a look at all these lists I've done, these 70s lists, and saying, all right, so which ones come out and go into the master list, which ones don't make it. Southern rock, prog rock, hard rock, heavy metal, pop, jazz, fusion. maybe even new wave. Who knows, right? So that's going to be a Herculean task. I'm actually not looking forward to it. It'll be fun once I get down and start doing it, but I'm not looking forward to the angst that I'm going to get with realizing that certain albums that I love so much just can't make the list. And then I have to make the decision, do I do multiple albums by any particular band or artist, right? Because there's some bands from the 70s that, man, I just love their albums. Do I do only one per? I have to wait and see what stuff gets pulled out. It's like, I mean, no surprise. How many Sabbath albums? How many Rush albums? How many Zeppelin albums? How many Rainbow albums? Right? I mean, it's just Whitesnake. Well, Whitesnake's probably not much of an entity for the '70s, but Genesis, yes, Jethro Tull. I mean, all these bands that have such a run of albums, because you really, when you think about it, with so many of these great bands with these long runs of 4, 5, 6 great albums in a row in the '70s. You could literally, the whole list of 31 could be filled up with 4 bands, and that's not as much fun, right? I mean, it's just like, yeah, that would be probably the more 100% truthful list, but then it's just like we're talking about the same couple of bands over and over again each and every day. So that's why I tend to try to limit 1 or 2 releases by any one band, because this way you get a chance to talk about a lot of other ones. I think it's a given if we see a Black Sabbath in my list, and I think it's a given that everybody knows, well, truthfully, probably 4 or 5 Sabbath albums could be in Pete's list, right? 4 or 5 Rush albums could be in my list. 3 or 4 Skynyrd albums could be in my list, right? 3 or 4 or 5 Genesis albums could be in my list. Then all of a sudden you can't fit anything in the list because it's all taken up by just a handful of bands, right? So in all likelihood, I'm going to move back to the 1 or 2 maximum by any band or artist, because it just makes more sense, right? It just makes more sense. Or maybe what we do, I don't know. Would it make sense to pick a band and for every, but then it's not the top 31, right? I was going to say you could pick 2 by any band, but it only counts as 1 pick. So then essentially I'm doing 62. That's making it way too complicated. Anyway, this is just me trying to figure out, and I'm banging it off of you guys just to, get the conversation going. So anyway, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of the Doors in the comments below, as well as your pick for day 11, and visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. See that? I'm pontificating and talking out loud here, and you got a 13-minute video. See? The more content for you, right? Pete first thing in the morning, just blathering on and on. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for pick number 10. Don't forget, we got today is What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility Day, a whole slew of new product releases for you. So check out all the reviews, see if you find a new favorite album, and we'll see you real soon. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.